So next one, we have Natasha Skult, just recently elected IGDA chair. So really big congratulations on that to Natasha.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
it's overwhelming in so many levels, but all we can do is to try our best. So yeah.
Yeah, really awesome. So you're following in the footsteps of Vesa Raudasalo, who was the last Finnish chair in IGDA Global. So really awesome.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we have so much know-how and talent to share from Finland. So I'm honored to be to represent Finland, but also as a woman as well, as this is the first time in history of IGDA actually that woman and non-US citizen is a chair of this global organization. So yep, it's going to be interesting journey, and thankfully I have my whole IGDA family, especially IGDA Finland family, with me in this. So I definitely don't, this is not one man show, it's never has been. So I think we got this.
Yeah.
I think we will.
And a really nice bridge there from Sophie's presentation about diversity to this election of IGDA chair. And yeah, so kind of a cool transition as well from team diversity into managing teams. So Natasha is here to tell us about how to manage a successful team. So yeah, the stage is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I will straight away share the screen, and I apologize for my I try to dim the lights, but we have big windows and this is where my face looks like this. What can I do? I'm too pale even for Finns. Okay, I hope you see my screen. So
yes,
good. So yeah, today I will talk about the managing or this sort of like building and managing the team, especially indie side of indie coin kind of side of the coin, because it's slightly different obviously when you are part of the big corporation and so on, but then how you are actually building from the scratch your own team, and also again, I think goes very well from the Sophie's, because this is exactly the practice is kind of what we are also having when it comes to diversity and inclusion, because I think it's crucial from the very start, even thinking about making a company, is to really actually first think about the company culture. So I'll talk about this today. And before, so the topic that I have been kind of like asked to talk about is the how to manage a team. Now, successful, it's very kind of like broad term, because success of the team depends on so many moving parts and also different views to what success behind the team actually is. But the truth is, the way how our industry and whole kind of like how the way, yes, there are people who go solo and be solo developers, but this actual kind of game development is all about teamwork, and it's all about this diverse know-how, which is necessary to create these unique experiences, which games provide to global audience. So I will be again focusing on the how is it from our perspective, from the perspective of an indie game studio, which is considered to be still small, even that we have 14 people in our team, but that's a small compared to some others, obviously, also in Finland. So yeah, before that, a bit about me for those who don't know me. So as a day job, I'm a CEO and creative director of MiTales, just elected to be the chairperson of IGDA Global. And other than that, active in the games industry in Finland and remaining so, obviously. My passion is in education, and I'm a, besides being, as you can see, workaholic, geek, and mother, and overall a nerd, I believe that again the games as a medium of expression have a huge impact, not just in entertainment, but in all our literally everyday life. So this is where I'm very passionate about applied games or serious games, and gamification. And I was also appointed to actually lead this program under Suomen Pelinkehitä ry, or Finnish Game Developers Association. And as that is not enough, I'm still quite heavily involved with the academic field, which I'm still teaching game design and game art at the University of Turku. Once again, this is something that I think it's really important for the, like to give back and to be part of the education and how we can empower the next generation of developers to join us and create this, well, industry a better place by each day. But before we talk about the team, because the thing is that when you are creating products, and in our case, in our company, we do various stuff. In order to be indie, we create our own, obviously, IPs and our own games, but we do a lot of B2B services. And this is also where our passion for exploring and finding these sort of like various solutions, how we can utilize gaming technology with other fields and so forth. Like, this is why we created the company in the first place. We have to talk about the products and different kind of like things, what games actually are, and why really do we do what we do. So first of all, why we play games, and why we play games as well, not just we as game developers who are kind of like, most of us are gamers kind of from childhood time, like in my case, but even if you're not, just why people play games. Well, first of all, in most cases, again, it's individual why people enjoy, but in most cases, games provide us with kind of escaping from this reality into something else, somewhere else, which can be, again, realistically presented or completely kind of like fantasy setup, which has nothing to do with this world. And it's the power of games is that not just that it kind of takes you further out, like kind of escaping this this world itself, which sometimes it's really good, just literally you don't want to think about certain things, and then you just like put a game on, but more importantly, it's the experiences and the emotional impact that actually games provide to every player, regardless of, are we talking about casual players, hardcore players, whichever. So as an experience as such. And this is something that is also very individual. So every player actually has own way of experiencing the world we are building as game developers, which also means that, for example, just to compare to other entertainment mediums. So when you think about movies, music is a bit more maybe interactive, and concerts and event organizing. But when it comes to actually receiving the information through, books or other written or audiovisual medium, such as movies and so on, it's kind of like one-sided, where there is information given, and then the viewer actually, depending on current mood, personal tastes, and like what literally did one sleep well previous night, and that sort of things can actually affect how you perceive the information given, and also how you interact with the things around. So with the games is the same, depending on, at least in my case, depending in the mood and depending on what kind of like in what state of mind I am, there will be different games that I'm actually want to play or enjoy playing or they sort of go through. Same as you are, like going through the Netflix, kind of like in what mood you're currently on. And the thing is that so we individually perceive things, just like you now listening to me presenting this. You have your own view, which is based on this sort of like common info that I'm sharing, but it is very much driven to your emotional current state. And this is where games step in even further with the act of interactivity, meaning that you can actually, in a way, freely interact with the things around. And not mentioning even more impact if you have a social aspect when it comes to actually with other players. So one really important thing why we do what we do, and why, for example, our team has decided to kind of go rogue and do the indie company, is because we know that we want to explore what we can do, not just with the technology, but with the acts of interactive storytelling, visual narrative, to really engage with the players on multiple levels. And then we also see huge potential to utilize these practices outside of entertainment. So for the education, healthcare, industrial engineering, architecture, whatnot, because that's the thing that it's actually kind of like that's where our passion lays. Because at the end of the day, no matter what game we're talking about, the players are the actually creators of these fantasies and the experiences that we provide. Because what we provide are the building blocks to actually experience those. So it's a dialogue between the creator and the final user, and that is so fascinating as a designer and as a also visual artist. So to create kind of that experience, again, I said it's all about the teamwork. And when it comes to the teamwork, there are so many different areas that you actually need to, like, we all have different expertise, but we also have our own strengths and weaknesses. And the point of the team building and how we, especially in MiTales, approach this is that we are aware, like it's openly, we are very much aware of each other's strengths and weaknesses, and we are working together on both ends, like this sort of, because it's fine to have a weakness. It's normal, it's natural. We are human. You should, like, nothing is perfect, no one is. So, but it's all about how then we together make it work in a way that the product or the client's product, depending on what we are working on, gets to the level that we are aiming to get, meaning that what experience we aim to provide through the work we do. And what we as a company has been focusing from the very start, and the reason why we set up the company, is that we want to focus on this sort of narrative side of games, which is, again, not about walls of text that usually people, when they say like story-driven game. Story-driven game doesn't mean that it's like Pac-Man has an actually really sad story behind, and for me there is even a story behind Pong. But the point here is that we're talking about this sort of immersive experiences where, through right visual language and audio-visual setup that you said, because audio is extremely important with the visuals, obviously, for the full experience. This is what we want to explore further. This is where we want to actually, like really get kind of dirty with, to see what works, what doesn't, and the only way we realized we can actually experiment is to be independent. And that means that we realized that, like as a startup, as we started, even that we have been in the industry, like the core team has been around for a while and all that, so we are all experienced from the kind of founder's background, but we also realized that no matter that now, when it comes to, if we go with the investment round or with the publishing deal or whatnot, we actually will not have that true creative freedom that you can really kind of like really try things that are not necessarily done before, because again, you want to fulfill, the goals and expectations of your investors and publishing partners and so on and so on. So there are restrictions. And this doesn't mean, when I say that we are free to do whatever, yes, we are, but that means that we are then obliged to create our own focus, our own restrictions, because you have to keep the focus. And this is especially important in the indie studio, because you're self-financed. I mean, this was our decision. We wanted to be self-financed. We wanted to be self-sufficient. And as such, explore all of this, what we are actually passionate about. And if we fail, so what? We will share our failures as a stories to others. So maybe someone else will, find it useful. And this is something, again, which is in Finnish games industry really unique and fascinating. I think this is the biggest success of Finnish games industry, is that we are so open and this sort of community, like how we share literally everything between ourselves. So this is the thing, like we realize that. So yes, of course, for scaling up the investment and so on would be kind of the next stage, but we didn't start the company and team from the pitch deck. As said, we focused on actually creating the company culture before anything else. And as a team that is already has been diverse from the very start, we also want to make sure that the newcomers, or this sort of, as the recruitment happens, that this sort of like that everyone is on the same page, because I will tell a bit more actually how our company culture works. But just as a background, this is what we do. And then for a kind of like official disclaimer here, this is what we are doing and what works for us. That does not necessarily obviously mean that this would work for others or from other, like even, when you think about different cultures, different countries and teams. But I'm just sharing what works for us. So maybe this will be helpful for some of you as well. And so yeah, and in practice, what we do, we create products for pretty much cross-platform, anything from mobile, PC, console, VR, AR, you name it. Same when it comes to the engine and tech that we use. It really depends on what product we are working on. And one thing when it comes to kind of like, so why we do again what we do. So this is kind of the summary of where we see ourselves here, kind of like as a team, what we wish to offer to the world, and kind of from where it all started. So this was one of the first things what we put, that we believe that actually the future of gaming, because we know we are already, our lives are gamified, that and I mean, besides pandemic, like we literally are having all the apps and things, and with the smart devices in our pockets. So we see that the future of gaming is this sort of more integration with the tasks and needs of everyday life activities, but also being able to personalize it depending on how each individual user needs it. Because one thing about kind of like experience, again, based on what I previously said on this sort of individual way of how you perceive stuff, but it's also how we learn, how we interact, how we do stuff. We do stuff completely differently. So when you think about learning, some learn better by, listening, some by reading on their own and doing stuff by hands, or so on. So we do things, we get information in so many different ways, which again, this is particularly important for accessibility and making sure that the products that we create and we provide out there are available and accessible for every individual, which is a huge kind of like statement to say, but this should be the goal. This is, now, do we succeed in whichever project? At least we try our best, but this is the goal. And then again, having this sort of gaming technology, because games and game tech, it's all under this sort of whole IT and software side, because it's all integrated in so many different industries anyway. So obviously, sharing this know-how and experiences is something that we want with the other experts and professionals in other fields to collaborate with. So, and then we have our own, obviously, IP and games that we create for, at the moment, we have two main titles that are actually going out, which is the one mobile game and one PC game. So again, which is not something normally that teams do. They usually focus on kind of one project or one thing. We have so many things going on because I'm a firm believer that you don't put everything, all the eggs in one basket. You have to have multiple things going on, because you never know with the type of market, I mean, what's happening with the market, what's happening with, everything around. You have to be kind of like be ready to pivot really fast. And this is what our industry is very known for. So yeah, this is what we kind of like where we started from. And also as a team who is passionate about storytelling, this is also what we want to empower other professionals, because communicating is really hard. And especially for us nerds, I guess. But communicating, really telling giving the right message out there, which is something that I'm sure that we have quite many marketing people here. So you know what I mean when I say this sort of like actually telling the, you know, especially this sort of short and kind of like straight to the point information out there. And we also believe that this is something where games and generally visual narrative is very powerful, and why it is important to have this as a part of your literally, you know, business strategy, and as I mean, as if it's a bit or part of the educational curriculum and so on, is that you provide this sort of various aspects of that message, because as said, differently different people receive and process information differently. So this is why where marketing, as we all know, for example, use a lot of visual content because images stay in our minds way longer than any other medium we receive. So this is where visual narrative and telling stories through this sort of visual cues and interactivity is something that games provide absolutely best compared to any other medium. So this is our kind of like the core thing we do, and where we stand. And now quite many ask us often, because of this sort of like unusual way how we set up things, but it's, so we have services and then we have our own products, and they go hand in hand. And then just like, oh, you have only kind of like, you know, 10, 12 people, well, now a bit more, but still, like you are a small team, how do you manage all? Well, it's basic project management and time management when it comes to the work and schedules and so on. For example, when you are, because with some of the clients, especially bigger client, it is most likely there are more delays of receiving the material from clients. So you can wait for 2-3 weeks to actually receive the content. During that time, you have 2-3 weeks to work on pretty much anything else around. So it's really about balancing and also this sort of like seeing, prioritizing where, what, and who, and what. And this is where individuals, so this is where the team is, and the teamwork is essential. How do you actually not just kind of have this sort of skill set, but the mindset of being able to work in such this sort of like creative environment, in the sense that you always have something else kind of that you tackle. So this is where, because when it comes to games as a service, and what we do quite a lot, is basically there is this still stigma of what gamification and serious games, what they are, like what they actually do. There is still, unfortunately, misunderstanding of the whole even terminology and so on. So this is something that we also want to educate, including our clients, but also the rest kind of around, by seeing our products and things we do, what you can do actually, even without our help. But the point is that what you can do, even with your own team, to utilize the you know, like the approaches we have in the game development to make it even, you know, more engaging and more empowering product of your own. Because this is what gamification really is, you know, like integrating various expertise within the field of you know, gaming experience to actually have the final kind of like the final result that would benefit the final user. In the case of education, for example, because as a teacher, I'm allowed to say these things. So I know from the practice, but I can tell you this, as educational games, as a teacher, you know, like the games are not necessarily, they're not made for teachers. They're made as tools for teachers to use with their students. But the thing is that they need to serve the student as the final kind of target audience for us as developers, to serve the student, to learn the curriculum the teacher has been set through this whole game. So it's and in order to create that, it's a huge teamwork effort, not just within our team, but because these professionals in their fields become part of our team. So it's all about very open communication, very kind of like this way that they understand what actually from the game design perspective is necessary, and that developers understand what, for example, from the educational side is necessary, and so forth. So it's all about the teamwork, but then also on the broader scope. So setting up this sort of like company culture, which is in its essence exactly about communicating, about empowering, about this sort of like diverse approaches, by all means, we are able to actually have very successful this sort of like collaboration with, you know, like fields that nobody even thought of collaborating with in the past. So that's very exciting for us, and each one of these is, we take it as, it's kind of like designers' dream jobs, because every of these challenges that something cannot be done, it's like, yes, this is what I need to actually kind of find a solution for. So it's very inspiring at the same time. The whole work is very rewarding. So this is where kind of when you think about what we do as a team, even that we are a small team, but we do from the software development kind of like support or whatever needed, but mainly focusing on, through all of these, we always focus on the narrative, in a sense that it always should be this sort of the meaningful information and you know, like engagement for the user to actually you know, receive. So this is kind of like what we do. And then when it comes to I will just browse very fast through some of the projects that we have been kind of like developing on our own and with our clients, just for the sake of references, and then how we balance these. Because like when it comes to your own products, again, it's, yes, you have full freedom to do stuff, but it's really important, again, to put your own restrictions and focus in. And same like you would do with the otherwise, if you start with, you know, you have to keep the scope really focused down. And we want to actually, our plan next in the future is that we will do more of this kind of R&D part, where we will be testing even more than we did so far. So we are planning actually to expand our team to actually have R&D kind of department of its own, although we all work on this together. And as a whole team, we, no matter is it a client work or our own product or whichever, the whole thing is that we have absolutely flat hierarchy and we decide everything together. Even as a CEO, I mean, I execute what is needed, especially from the kind of like operational side, but I do what we as a team decide. So everyone has full kind of like saying in everything we do. So this is something that is for me very important, because whatever challenge comes up, because there will be problems either in our own projects or in the client work, technical issues, this and that. If we all are again together behind it, we will find solution for that particular whatever it is. But that's the thing, I don't want ever anyone to feel alone in solving something and being frustrated and feeling as this sort of like, no, we will figure it together if it comes to it. So so this is something that for us is very important. And here just I will, as I said, browse through some of the examples. So here you can see the one of the kind of tools for parents to actually use with their own children as a visual calendar, because it's actually very hard for some children to still like to in the early age understand the concept of time and how it works. So basically calendars, and now the calendars that we basically live by, why not to have it in the sense that you can actually also sync it with your own Google Calendar and so on. So you can have this more interactive version for the whole family. And then we have been already for years working with the quantum physicists, and including the IBM quantum computing, which actually we are utilizing in one of our commercial games. So this is sort of the things that we want to really dive deeper into, this sort of like figuring out what can be done within the games with you know, some you know, quite how to put it, overwhelming information when it comes to how quantum things, for example, work. And then there we are quite often asked to do some of the, you know, like visualizations and different kind of gamified or interactive content for existing products, to which I believe quite many are aware of the Viking Line as a cruising ship company, which means that they provide various cruising experiences. And we have created the whole virtual, so all of this that you see here, this is all done. This 3D model. This has been made during the time that the ship has been underdeveloped or building in China. So we have created full virtual version of the ship, of the new vessel, which is Viking Glory, which will be, I think, launched at the end of this year or so, actually from Turku to Stockholm. And the virtual tour is like, it's one thing, or virtual kind of like, you know, like ship itself. Yes, it can be used for tours. It can be used for marketing, sales, and all that. But also it can be used because we did the virtual reality version of it as well, that you can actually also use it for the staff training and many other needs and uses for the actual, you know, like team itself in the Viking Line. So again, way how gaming technology can be both kind of entertaining and very, very useful. While this vessel, for example, has been across the globe. And here a bit of more, because we want to find ways how we can also create different kind of experiences in everyday life, but also especially to bring more kind of educational content through the very casual gameplay. And Sana Like a Friends is one of our games that we actually, it's basically a Tamagotchi Talking Tom reference kind of game, where besides just taking care of the characters and friends that you have in the setup, is that actually you also have to kind of like take care of this sort of mental side of things, meaning that the you know, like that they receive information and learning and grow as characters on their own, because they have their own little own characteristics that depend quite many things on. And then there is Play, which is the PC title, fully this sort of RPG heavy kind of a bit of his strategy as well when it comes to the game itself, aimed for PC and console in the future. And we are aiming to this product at least launch by the end of this year on Steam. And let's see how that goes. So far, so good. And we are very excited also to try out to utilize some of the newer technology inside of that. But let's see how it works. How do we manage this? Because this is the main thing. So how all of this, what I presented, we actually do together. By literally building this sort of like very, very close relationship between the team members, in a sense that communication is not hard. As said, communicating can be really hard. It is usually hard, even between friends. So the thing here, how to make the communication easy between professionals, is something that takes a lot of effort. But once you have it actually, you know, like set, it's really like the game changer for the managing the team and achieving everything that you put as a goal. So with all the different actual task, as said, what game development actually requires, and as it's a teamwork. It's really important to emphasize the individual's own, not just skill set and all that, but also interests and passions. And this is something that I really want to make sure that that is the case. So first of all, when we have quite many interns going through in and out the company, because we want to make sure that also we are open for younger developers to also experience work in the industry. And what I also do is that we always have interns being part of the design process and everything else, and that their opinions and suggestions and feedback matter equally as everyone else is around. So as I briefly mentioned in the beginning, we have full flat hierarchy. So everyone is like, there is, and which is, again, I know quite many ask, how do you do that business from? And we also have another thing that we do. We have the same salaries for everyone, including myself, like which again, quite many business people ask, how do you do that? We have the same salaries, but then we also created the bonus systems as a company. So depending on, you know, like if some, like one of our team members got a baby, and of course whole situation changed with the private life. So of course we are there to support you know, new parents to have everything they need to maintain the balance between work and private life. So all very much flat line, couldn't be flatter, because it is super important that everyone feels completely included inside of what they during the COVID year. So it's just about this sort of like keeping up with the motivation and everything else, because they are included. They are really feeling included. And I think this is one of the things that with the soft skills is extremely important, for not just to have soft skills on the paper, or sort of like we need to work on the team building and so on. It's actually how you treat people. It's actually how that you listen, and it's all about listening. This is where, again, I think that at least in our case, it works kind of like as it is. Obviously, I know quite many that would never even consider having such a kind of open work culture in that sense, between the kind of like juniors, seniors, and so on. But the thing is, as an indie company and as someone who is like, as a small team also, we are nothing without each other. I am nothing without my team, literally nothing. So it's all about them. It's all about us together creating what we are passionate about. And if someone is something happens in private life and this and that, like it is for all of us to be there to actually make sure that that person can actually, you know, focus on what matters at that moment, and we will take care of the work that they don't have to even think about it. Also goes with the working hours. This 9 to 5 usual and plus office, obviously it's not really working out for over a year now for quite many, but we already before COVID had this, that you can work from home, you can do from wherever. Also, we are not working in a factory that you're clicking your hours. So the point is, you have tasks. Now, when you do your, like this sort of, when the goal, what we have put together again as a goal, you as a professional, again, take care of your task list and so on. How you do it, where you do it. You want to go to the moon and do it? Not my problem. Just like, let's make it sure that it actually works. So we always had this kind of flexible working hours and flexible working environment. We have a very cozy office, and we would like to be more there, but of course some of us with who are actually in the risk groups are still working from home, and only few are using office on more regular basis. But it has been already established from the start, so therefore we had no issues with that. So about kind of like teamwork and individuality as a kind of not just versus, but also one supplements another. I think it's really important, as in our industry, we, no matter how long you have been in the industry, and are you a veteran, senior, or just literally enthusiast, wants to develop skills to get to the industry. The main thing is that we all constantly learn, and you have to keep learning to keep up with all the developments that are happening out there constantly. So it's continuous learning. And that's where the mindset that this is the way how our work is. If this is for you, great. But if it's not, maybe consider other industry, which is totally fine. I mean, there is software development, which is kind of more kind of like rigid compared to ours. But, you know, like this is all about how you improve yourself personally and professionally. So I'm always talking at least with students about this, like really think about what you're good at, and by good at this sort of see this sort of like what are your strengths and weaknesses and what you want to improve, even if something is your weakness that you want to actually, but you like it. For example, you really love 3D modeling, but you suck at it, then by work, because again it's all practice, it's all work, just then put that you know, put your mind to it. So what you wish to get better at. So it can be anything. It can be something from literally, you know, fixing daily schedule to an actual skill of, you know, like, I mean, practical side of, let's say, 3D modeling. And this sort of how, or is the communicating hard? In most cases it is, and especially communicating this to your, let's say, boss or superior, that you would like to do something else and you would like to try some other stuff and so on. So this is something that I mean, we want to make sure that especially new team members that come to our team as we are growing, that they feel, you know, empowered to actually say, hey, I would like to try, you know, like I would love to get better in this and that. I would like, I'm more, you know, like seeing this and that, what's happening, let's say in marketing, I would like to do more of that. Fantastic. Let's get you courses if you want. Let's get you this and that, because that's again something that I think as a company it's our responsibility to grow our team as individuals and as professionals to kind of like get the best effect out there, and that they are fulfilling their goals as well. Because all of this together, especially with our diverse backgrounds, experiences, interests, everything and anything, this is what makes us actually unique. But you have to figure out what is that for you, obviously, and then how you, with the rest of the team, want to put that in practice. So, as I don't have a clue what time it is, but as a summary, listening. Absolutely, I couldn't highlight that more. Listen to yourself. Kind of the gut feeling, the reason why gut feeling is good to listen is because the gut feeling is your subconscious kind of saying from the previous failures you have been making, this sort of like, is this something similar? So like if something feels wrong, try to listen to yourself. So listen to yourself and experiences you have had from before. Listen to your team, listen to the people around you, and make sure that you actually listen, that it doesn't just go in and out, that you actually process that and see how you can tackle whatever comes that you actually need to solve. Then focus on the company culture. I think this is one of the things that are lacking in our education. Doesn't matter which education we are talking about at all. I mean, if you're if especially in the games, it's very common that universities and schools are being like, you should, you know, make your own team, go to accelerator, do and that. But all of them, and even advisors are talking about, how to pitch, how to build pitch deck, how to talk to investors. How about how to talk to each other? So this is something that I think that empowering individuality is really important, and keep learning continuously is the key to kind of like get all of these aspects better. Because through all of that, you will be building trust, not just with your team members, but with the clients, with the rest of the community, and so on. So yeah, this would be my top 5 kind of takeaways from this apparently vlog monologue. But yes, thank you so much. And please, if there is anything, like, feel free to also be in touch. Here's my contact, and obviously I would love to hear if there are any comments or questions from you. So thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. Yeah, we've got a bunch of questions for you, so hang tight. First of all, interns. That was a really kind of interesting topic for me, because being a teacher myself and working with students and kind of struggling to get internships for them is something that I kind of can relate to. So I sometimes, or actually quite often, hear that that hiring interns and managing them is quite time consuming. So what would you say to these people that think that it's kind of a struggle?
Yeah, it is a struggle. Okay, so first of all, when it comes to kind of like it depends. It all depends from the team itself. Again, I do understand if some of the companies, like it was in some that I worked before, that they are not necessarily seeing the point of having interns around that you have to babysit. But on the other hand, I think it's very beneficial for the team to have people coming in for bursting that bubble, even if nothing else, of kind of newcomers being there to burst that kind of like, because we are so easily being in our own bubbles as developers also, and thoughts and so on. So getting new fresh ideas inside the team and getting their feedback on that is also challenging ourselves constantly from the sort of new perspectives. But for the students, basically don't apply for any single kind of like, just because you have a list from, let's say, Neo Games, the companies that are there. Check really which companies that with your skills, which I was saying, this sort of like what you're good at, what you want to be good at, what you want to learn more about. Is it 3D modeling? Is it animation? Is it technical art? Is it literally architecture, backend, whatever? So basically, depending on that, really go through this list of companies, see what is it, and then make the application that is actually tailored to really say that, yes, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm so eager to know more, and I think this would be a best fit because of my interest, blah, blah, blah. And then so it's a, don't just apply and copy paste applications, because then you're actually going to get the answers from the companies to your application. So do your research, same like you would do with basically like anything else. So that would be my for both sides, like students and companies.
Yeah. Then thinking about kind of the previous presentation by Sophie and the diversity and kind of bridging that into the discussion. So what's your opinion on diversity and kind of the composition of the team? Is there like a perfect fit in a team, sort of a perfect team in your opinion, or is it always like a balancing act?
Obviously, it's a balancing act, because we are humans. We are cucumbers with anxiety. So you have to be sure that you can balance a lot of stuff like at the same time. But the thing is that our team has, for example, LGBTQ, non-binary, and other kind of like members of this sort of diverse groups, and we also have people with chronic illnesses that were actually fired from previous job because they couldn't perform whatever because of otherwise professional setup, but because this is how it is. and not understanding the personal needs when it comes to literally health. So just saying, like, we have these, and we are not posting about this in social media, because that's not how diversity works, to talk about we have this and that and putting someone on the front. It's more about how you actually do it. So this is where kind of creating this sort of from the company culture, that how you actually create the environment and the working environment that is not just the sort of empowerment, but yeah, it doesn't matter who or where or what you are, we are all in this together. And communicating again to say that, hey, I'm in a pickle here, this is happening in my private life, you know, can someone help out with this and that, just because, you know, so we get to that goal, whatever we have. And when you have this relationship, really open relationship, kind of like of communicating, it's so much easier than to kind of like, yes, let's see who is going to do this and that. So so it's this sort of, we are there for each other, which is again something that with interns, I have to say, because this is really important, kind of like it's a crucial thing also for interns who come to work with us. So quite often, because we have different kind of projects, and some can be boring for them, because, you know, if you're working on some app that is, so it's a boring thing. So what we do is that we enable them that they can work on their own project that we will then supervise. So then they can kind of like learn by actually being interested on the stuff that they want to create. And then our experts are there to kind of like guide, show, do all of this. Because I think internship should be not just credits for the school, it should be actual learning, kind of professional growth for the individual. So yeah, otherwise you can just go to local supermarket and do your internship. I mean, but if you want to actually get something out of it, then really see what that is and go to the company, discuss this openly. So yeah, communicating. Sorry for the long answer.
Yeah. And you mentioned that team is everything, and support is super important. So I think that goes in line with that. Obviously, like producers and team leads, they usually have to struggle or at least balance with kind of deadlines, and they also have to think about the people and their team. What kind of advice would you give kind of to team managers that are kind of stressed out and time is running short, and the team is being stressed out as well?
As a kind of like long-term producer person here, it's like I know the pain way too well. One thing that actually showed kind of like from this is again just personal experience. So this is what worked for me, and what I noticed that works at least when it comes to this sort of really stressful and kind of demanding timelines, is that you can create as a producer sort of like what would be the best, let's say, schedule, roadmap, whatever you want to call it, like what we need to do. So there is the deadline, there's the goal, this is what needs to be done. You kind of start with creating this own kind of like plan, but please adjust that plan with your team. Because me setting up the fantasy timeline, which if it's not possible technically or whichever other way to do, makes no sense, and then there's more stress. So include absolutely every team member in setting up these goals, milestones, everything. That sort of like do everything together with the team, because they are then the ones who are also responsible for all of that they kind of said as fellow professionals that this is going to be done then and then. So, and then me as a producer should communicate if there is any kind of need for slight extension, that yes, I will communicate that forward, we will negotiate forward. But that's the thing, put the whole team, and this worked really magic when it comes to very stressful and demanding kind of like big projects. Because again, I can set stuff, but if it doesn't, like, you have to have absolutely everyone involved to contribute to that.
Yeah, and I think that kind of boils down to the kind of commitment of the team as well. So,
yes.
So once they are involved in the kind of decision making and planning, they're also like very much committed to that plan.
And second thing, just to add, always have as a producer plan B, C, and possibly D. Because you always have to see, okay, if this doesn't happen, or if this person or someone gets sick, like point is always have plan B, C, and even D. So this is kind of, think of the kind of like how whatever happens, think of the, you know, hope for the best, be ready for the worst. So this is sort of like make sure that also that is all not set to stone, but it's all there in with the buffers that it can actually pivot if needed at any moment.
Yeah. One last question before we move on. So, so not many people who are kind of into doing games, they maybe don't have like official training on leadership and management skills, or even aspirations of doing that. Like, should a game dev team have a dedicated manager with some leadership, actual like education or experience, or can it be like just anyone's forte?
Okay, if you want to learn about leadership for real, it's kind of like you have to do stuff with people. So again, one thing that I would recommend is try to volunteer. If nothing else, we have IGDA Finland. Try to volunteer and do the stuff together with others and deal with people in various levels. Because that's the thing I said, we are cucumbers with anxiety. So you never know which one is gonna kind of need what. So you have to make sure that sort of like that you handle whatever things happen. So leadership really, besides the educate, there is, and yeah, but they also go to this sort of like business strategies and yeah, numbers are super important. Obviously, it's always based on numbers, but I mean business decisions. But how you, so all these soft skills, leadership skills, I would say it's being with people. So through actually working with others, this is how you actually get to train yourself. So this is why I would say that just get out there, be with people, and you will learn so much from each other.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's it. We've run a bit over time, but I think that's okay. Important topic. So thank you very much, Natasha, and once again, congratulations.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. It was amazing event, and I'm super happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here.